My mom took my car and said, "You don't need it, your brother deserves it more." I was furious until the dealership called and said, "Actually, that's not how ownership works." When my mom realized what she had done, she screamed in panic. I don't even know where to begin with this mess. I've always known my mom favored my younger brother, but I never thought she'd go this far. For some background, I, 27 male, grew up in a household where my mom catered to my brother's every need while I was left to fend for myself. It was always, "He's younger, you should understand," or, "You're the older one, be the bigger person." That was my entire childhood, my brother getting whatever he wanted, and me just expected to deal with it. But this? This was next level. So, I saved up for years to buy myself a decent car. Nothing fancy, just a reliable Toyota Camry that wouldn't leave me stranded on the side of the road. I worked my ass off for it, overtime shifts, side gigs, cutting corners wherever I could just to afford the down payment. And when I finally got it? Best feeling ever. It wasn't brand new, but it was mine. Paid for with my own money, in my name, fully insured. Fast forward about 6 months after getting my car. I was visiting my parents' house for the weekend when I woke up Sunday morning to find my car was gone. At first, I thought it had been stolen. My heart was pounding, and I was already reaching for my phone to call the cops when my mom casually walked into the kitchen, pouring herself a cup of coffee like nothing was wrong. "Where's my car?" I asked, my voice shaking. She didn't even look up. "Oh, your brother took it." I stared at her, thinking maybe I misheard. "What do you mean, he took it?" "Took it where?" She waved a hand dismissively. "He needed it more than you. You don't need a car as much as he does." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you kidding me? That's my car. I paid for it. It's in my name." That's when she hit me with the line that made my blood boil. "Cars are meant to be shared in a family. He's struggling right now, and you should be helping him." My brother, struggling? Yeah, right. The guy hadn't worked a steady job in years. He dropped out of college, sat on his ass playing video games all day, and anytime someone suggested he get a job, my mom would coddle him. "He's going through a tough time," she'd say. "He just needs some support." I wasn't having it. I demanded she call him and tell him to bring it back right now. She just rolled her eyes and said, "Don't be selfish." At this point, I was shaking with rage. I grabbed my phone and started calling my brother, but of course, he wasn't picking up. I texted him, and he left me on read. So, I did the next logical thing, I called the cops. Now, I wasn't trying to get my own brother arrested, but I needed my car back. I told them my car had been taken without my permission, that it was registered in my name, and that my brother wasn't answering me. They said they'd send someone over to my parents' house. While waiting for the cops, my mom was freaking out. She kept saying, "You're making a big deal out of nothing. He'll bring it back when he's done." But I wasn't backing down. Then, out of nowhere, my phone rang. It was the dealership. "Hello, is this, my name?" "Yes. This is Mike from, dealership name. I just wanted to confirm, you're still the legal owner of the 2019 Toyota Camry, correct?" "Yes." "Well, I have someone here trying to trade it in." I swear, I almost blacked out from rage. I said, "Wait. What?" "Yeah, there's a guy here claiming it's his car, trying to get a trade-in value for something else." My blood ran cold. I asked the dealership guy to describe him, and yep, it was my brother. This idiot had actually taken my car and tried to trade it in for something else. I told the dealership, "That car is stolen. Do not let him leave with it." The guy on the phone immediately got serious. "Understood. I'll stall him. You might want to call the police." I had never dialed so fast in my life. I told them exactly where he was, what he was doing, and that he was trying to fraudulently sell my car. My mom was still screaming at me, saying I was ruining my brother's life, that I was being dramatic, that I was overreacting. Overreacting? My brother just tried to commit fraud. About 15 minutes later, the cops arrived at my parents' house just as I got a text from my brother. "WTF, dude? Did you call the cops on me?" Damn right I did. I didn't even reply to my brother's text. What was I supposed to say? "Oh, sorry for calling the cops while you were literally committing fraud?" Yeah, no. The officers at my parents' house were asking me questions. When was the last time I saw the car? Did I give my brother permission to take it? Was there any history of this happening before? Meanwhile, my mom was hovering, looking like she was about to faint.
One officer turned to her and asked, "Ma'am, did you know your son was taking his brother's car without permission?" She stammered. I mean, it's not like he was stealing it. He's family. Families share things." The cop gave her a look that shut her up real quick. "Ma'am, that's not how this works. Ownership is ownership." While all this was happening, I got another call, this time from my brother. I picked up, and before I could say a word, he was screaming. "You set me up." I let out a bitter laugh. "You stole my car and tried to sell it. How the hell did I set you up? You didn't have to call the cops. Mom said you'd just let me have it." I swear, I felt like my head was going to explode. "Why would I ever let you have it? I paid for that car. You don't even have a job. She said you didn't need it as much as I did. She said you'd get over it." I went completely silent. My mom. She told him he could take it. Not only that, she made him think it was his now. Like it wasn't something I had worked years to afford. Like it was just some toy I had to hand over because she said so. My brother kept ranting. "Now the cops are here, and they're saying I tried to commit fraud. The dealership guy told them everything. I could get in serious trouble for this, you idiot." "Oh, so now I'm the idiot?" I snapped. "You didn't think trying to trade in a car that's not in your name would get you in trouble? You really thought that would work? I thought you'd just let it go." "Let it go?" I looked at my mom, who was now sitting at the dining table, hands covering her face, shaking. I don't know if it was guilt, fear, or both, but I didn't care. The cops were wrapping up their questions when my dad walked into the house. He had no idea what was going on. "What's with all the police cars outside?" he asked. Then he saw my mom's face, and then he saw mine. "What happened?" Before I could answer, my mom jumped in. "It's nothing," she said quickly, her voice cracking. "Just a misunderstanding." I couldn't believe her. Even now, she was trying to downplay it. The cop ignored her and looked at me. "Sir, we've got officers at the dealership now. Your brother is being detained while we sort this out. We'll need you to come down to make a statement." My dad turned to me, confused. "What did he do?" I folded my arms. "He stole my car. Tried to trade it in. And Mom told him he could." The color drained from my dad's face. He turned to my mom. "Tell me this isn't true." She still wouldn't look at him. Then, she started crying. Not the quiet, guilty kind of crying. No, this was full-blown, dramatic sobbing. Like she was the victim. "I was just trying to help him," she wailed. "You don't understand. He's been so lost," and I thought, my dad cut her off, his voice booming. "You thought giving away our son's car behind his back would help? Are you insane?" I'd never seen my dad yell like that before. Ever. My mom just collapsed into her chair, still sobbing. I turned to the cops. "Can I go now?" One of them nodded. "Yes, but you'll need to meet us at the station soon to finalize your statement." I grabbed my keys, ignoring my mom's hysterics, ignoring my dad staring at her like she was a complete stranger, and walked out. The drive to the police station was surreal. My brother, who had spent his whole life getting whatever he wanted, was now sitting in a holding cell, all because he couldn't comprehend that no actually applied to him. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but I did know one thing. This family would never be the same after today. As I pulled into the police station, my phone buzzed again. Another call from my mom. I let it go to voicemail. I couldn't deal with her right now. Inside, the officer I had spoken to earlier waved me over. "Your brother's being processed," he said. "We've confirmed with the dealership that he tried to trade in the car under false pretenses. That's attempted fraud, plus unauthorized use of a vehicle." I sighed. "What does that mean for him?" The officer looked at me carefully. "Depends on you." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Well," he said, "right now, it's up to you whether or not you want to press charges." I stared at him. "Wait, so I can actually drop this?" "To an extent. The dealership could still pursue fraud charges since he lied about ownership, but as far as taking your car without permission? That's on you." My head was spinning. My brother was a complete idiot, sure, but did I really want to be the reason he got a criminal record? Then my phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from my dad. "Do not drop charges. We need to talk." I frowned. That was unexpected.
My dad was usually the peacekeeper, the let's just move on type. If he was saying this, then something else was going on. I told the officer I needed a second and stepped outside to call my dad. He picked up on the first ring. "Listen," he said immediately, his voice low. "I just found out something you need to know." I leaned against my car. "What now?" He hesitated. "Then, your mother took out a loan in your name." I froze. My brain refused to process what I just heard. "What?" "She took out a personal loan using your information," he repeated. "I just found the paperwork in her desk." I felt sick. "Are you kidding me?" "I wish I was. It looks like she did it a few months ago. I don't know what she used it for, but she's been making payments, small ones, just enough to not get flagged." "But the balance?" "It's still thousands." My hands clenched into fists. "So she stole my identity?" My dad exhaled. "Legally?" "Yes." I thought I was angry before. I wasn't. Now, I was furious. "She gave my car to my brother like it was nothing," I muttered. "She took money in my name. What else has she done?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out," my dad said. "But you need to leave those charges in place. If we don't hold your brother accountable, your mother's going to think she can get away with this too." For the first time in my life, my dad sounded tired of covering for my mom. I had a choice to make. And I was starting to think this was so much bigger than just a stolen car. I stood in the parking lot of the police station, my dad's words still ringing in my ears. "She took out a loan in your name." This wasn't just about my brother anymore. This wasn't just about my car. My own mother had stolen from me. My hands were shaking, and I had to take a deep breath before heading back inside. The officer was still waiting. "You ready to make a decision?" he asked. I nodded. "I'm pressing charges." The words came out steady, but inside, I felt like I was shattering. I drove straight to my parents' house. My dad was waiting for me on the porch, arms crossed, jaw clenched. He didn't even say anything, just nodded at the door, like he was giving me permission to go in and end this. I walked inside, and my mom was sitting at the dining table, pale as a ghost. She looked up at me, eyes puffy from crying. "You," I said, my voice low, "are going to explain to me exactly what you did." She swallowed hard. I don't know what your father told you, but, he told me you took out a loan in my name." I cut her off. "That true?" Her face crumpled. "I was going to pay it back." I slammed my hands on the table, making her jump. "You stole from me!" I shouted. "And you think that's supposed to make me feel better?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I had no choice. Your brother needed help. Stop!" I yelled. "Stop making this about him. This isn't about him anymore. This is about you. You've been covering for him his whole life, and now you're dragging me down with you." She sobbed into her hands. "I just wanted him to have a chance." I laughed bitterly. "A chance? Mom, he's a grown man. You're not helping him, you're enabling him." She shook her head violently. "You don't understand. He's not like you. He's not strong. He's not responsible. He can't survive on his own. And that's my problem because you're his brother," she cried. "And I knew you wouldn't help him, so you stole from me?" I finished for her. "You committed fraud against your own son." She covered her face again, but she couldn't hide from this. I turned to my dad. "How much did she take?" He hesitated. Then, quietly, $15,000. My stomach dropped. I had no words. "You have no idea what you've done," I said finally. "You think this is about some car? Some money? You just ruined everything. I can't trust you. I will never trust you again." At that moment, my brother came storming in, looking furious. "This is all your fault," he shouted. I turned, barely believing what I was hearing. "My fault? If you had just let me have the car, if you had just let Mom help me, none of this would have happened." I almost laughed. He actually believed that. "You tried to commit fraud," I reminded him. "That's on you. I wouldn't have had to if you weren't so damn selfish," he shot back. And there it was. The truth. He didn't regret what he did. Neither of them did. They only regretted getting caught. I exhaled, looking between them, my mother sobbing, my brother glaring, my dad standing in the corner, looking like he'd aged 10 years. I finally understood. They were never going to change. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. My brother was formally charged with attempted fraud and unauthorized use of a vehicle. Since I refused to drop the charges, he got probation and mandatory community service. My mom tried to talk me out of it, she begged, she guilt-tripped, she screamed, but I didn't budge. As for the loan? That was another battle. I had to file identity theft charges against my own mother. I had to fight the bank to clear my name. It was a long, painful process, but eventually, I got it wiped. My dad? He was furious with my mom. For the first time in their marriage, he didn't defend her. He told me he didn't know if he could forgive her. I moved out of state a month later. Cut off all contact. It's been 2 years. I haven't spoken to my mom or my brother since that day. She's sent emails. Left voicemails. Tried to get family members to reach out to me. But I'm done. She made her choice. And I made mine. As for my dad? He eventually left her. Said he couldn't stay married to someone who could do that to their own child. Last I heard, she's still making excuses, still blaming everyone but herself. Do I regret pressing charges? No. Do I regret cutting them off? Not for a second. Some people will never change. And sometimes, the only way to move forward, is to walk away.